Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and as you see, we're doing a theme week this week. We're doing fairy tale horror, and the movie that I decided to go with is from 1984, co-written and directed by Neil Jordan. We got The Company of Wolves. I think you guys figured we were going to do a fairy tale horror week on BodyBags. Figured somebody was going to have to cover this one, but no. So this movie, um, this movie is very much an acquired taste. I would say. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. Um, I admit the first time I watched the movie, I didn't like it. But it's one of those movies that for me personally, the more I watch it, the more it grows on me. I keep finding things more and more that I like about the movie the more I watch it. The story is pretty much the entire movie is this young girl Rosaline, who is basically she's asleep, she's having a dream, and that's kind of it. Most of the movie is just this dream, and in the dream, Rosaline, young girl here, her sister is murdered by a wolf or wolves, and so Rosaline, her father, played by David Warner, who one thing you're going to notice in this movie, and I didn't know this until I watched the commentary, I didn't think about it. I mean, of course, just like, hey, David Warner's in the movie. How great is that? Or he's in this movie. How great is that? But watching the commentary is like, wow, I did not know that. Majority of the time, you see him. He's sitting down, and the reason why was because if I understood correctly, he broke his legs, and like he was in a lot of pain. Like it was really hard for him to walk. It was really hard for him to stand up. Which, if that's the case, it's like there are scenes where you do see him walking and running and stuff. It's like pretty impressive, for a guy who broke his legs. But so she's spending time, with her mother and father, but she's kind of like going back and forth between them and her grandmother, played by Angela Lansbury, who she's always like Angela Lansbury's character, the grandmother, is always telling her these stories, and she's constantly telling Rosaline, don't stray from the path. One thing you're gonna definitely notice in this movie, and it's not the first time it's been done, the whole thing about werewolves and everything else is used as like a metaphor for like adolescence and growing up and puberty and things like this. It's not an uncommon theme that we see in a lot of werewolf movies, but it is in here. And so she's telling her, Angela Lansbury's telling her these stories, and that's another thing about this movie too. Is like there's a number of stories within stories in this movie, and wolves tend to have something to do with it. And she said she gave Rosaline these rules like don't stray from the path, never trust a man with connecting eyebrows, a unibrow basically, and I forget what the other one was, but and so she tells her like a story about this woman who married a man. The man's played by Stephen Ray, who worked with Neil Jordan many times. They did many movies together. Interview with the Vampire, The Butcher Boy, In Dreams, on and on. The two of them have collaborated. The Crying Game, that's the biggest one they did together. So the two of them have collaborated many times. Um, and he marries this young woman, and when the moon is full, he opens the door, and like she's wanting him to come to bed to make love to her, but you see his eyes are changed, and that he's like she's like, why are you standing at the door, where are you gonna go, and all this, and it's like nature calls and stuff. And so he goes off, and then years pass, and she marries another man, and they have children together. And then Ray's character comes back, and when he sees that she's married to another man and has a family, he turns into a werewolf. And her husband comes in just in time to save them. One thing I will say about this movie, though, and that's one of the elements that I like about it. the special effects, like when you watch this movie, the special effects do look pretty obvious, especially in the werewolf transformations. But I will say that they really, really tried to do something unique and fresh with it. You got to remember, this movie was coming out at a time when we did have, a few werewolf movies out. We had, American Werewolf in London, Silver Bullet, um, what else was there? The Howling, and all, then The Howling started spawning sequels and stuff like this. So I thought that that was a cool idea that they did, in this one instance where the wolf comes out of this person's mouth, um, like in the scene with Stephen Ray's character, he starts like peeling all of his skin off, and you see this kind of, musculature wolf. First the face, but then you see it transform into the wolf and stuff. So I do like the practical effects in this movie, and this movie is, it's very beautiful. It's very kind of fairy tale mixed with gothic. You could definitely see this as like something like a. This almost definitely has a real Tim Burton kind of feel, almost a Sleepy Hollow feel to it. Excuse me. The movie is pretty low budget, but what they did with that low budget was pretty impressive. The sets are beautiful. The miniatures are beautiful and everything else. Um, so there is a lot of craftsmanship that went into this movie, and it is, very, very, from a technical craftsmanship standpoint, this movie is amazing. It's fantastic. It's gorgeous the way in that it's done. I would say, in terms of story and plot, it's like I said, the story is Rosaline dreaming a lot of this stuff, and so so the movie is pretty surreal, and it has moments where it's kind of weird and kind of avant-garde, I guess you could say. But so anyway, so Rosaline is in her village with her family, and like I said, she's going back and forth, and seeing her grandmother and staying with her parents. And then the grandmother keeps telling her all these stories. Then even at one point, Rosaline starts telling stories, and so that's like another. And these stories are usually always well, not usually. They're always connected with wolves in some way. And you finally do get to the point in the movie where Rosaline is given this red cloak, and she wears it a lot. And at one point, she's going to go see her grandmother, and she encounters this man who's kind of wolfish and stuff. Well, he goes to see the grandmother, and basically we kind of get into a very, very dark retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. I would give you some more specifics on it, but in case if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it for you. So, and then also too, like I said, this is kind of a surreal movie, so I might try to explain something in the movie that maybe it's just the way I'm seeing it, but it turns out that's not really the way it goes. So that's why I'm kind of just like, just kind of be a little bit vague about it. But overall, like I said, would I recommend this movie? Honestly, yeah. I think it's worth at least a watch. I can't guarantee you're going to love it. But I think that, like I said, the first time I watched the movie, honestly, I didn't like it. There was just something about it. I guess I just wasn't into the whole, I guess maybe just at the time when I first watched it, I just wasn't feeling it. And I wasn't into the whole surreal kind of dreamlike quality of the movie. And I think it just wasn't really what I expected, you know. But over the years, I've watched it more and more. And like I said, the more that I watch it, the more I find things in it that I appreciate. And there's just, like the special effects and on the commentary, like they asked Neil Jordan, like, were you trying to go for like Hammer movie quality? And it's like, you do see a tiny little bit of it, but when Neil Jordan says in the commentary, like, actually he was more inspired by the Roger Corman, Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe adaptations, it's like that becomes very apparent. It's like, oh, you can definitely see it. And, and once you start looking at it, it's like, Oh yeah, you could definitely see it. And it's like there's a tiny little bit of a Hammer element to this movie, but not by much. But you definitely get the Roger Corman Poe adaptation vibe from it. But like I said, I think the movie is worth a watch. But the thing is like this movie, it's not going to be for everybody. It's very much an acquired taste. The performances are good. Angela Lansbury as the grandmother, like she kind of her character kind of goes back and forth between being like a sweet grandmotherly lady to having an almost sinister quality about her. Um, but like I said, David Warner, even though he doesn't have a ton of screen time in this movie, but when he's in the movie, a lot of the time he's sat down. But it's David Warner. I mean, he's still awesome no matter what he's in. So you have that, and just yeah, and some there's a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity that went into this movie, and some of the story sequences, especially the werewolf wedding party. And I'm not, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the movie, just kind of let that set in your mind and kind of like, that'd be interesting to see. But I would say the movie is at least worth a watch, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be for everybody. Like I said earlier, it's an acquired taste, and but I would say, yeah, just check it out. Even just one time maybe, or two times. Because like I said, the first time I watched it, I didn't care for it, but the more I watch it, the more it grows on me. So, and the effects, and that was one of the best things. I love that. In the '80s, we were having these werewolf movies where they were really, really, really trying. I mean, nobody's going to outdo Rick Baker. I'm sorry. Rick Baker's transformation on, American Werewolf is, I mean, that's the gold standard. Okay. However, that being said, Rob Bottin's work on The Howling, Carlos Rambaldi on Silver Bullet, and then the makeup effects artist in here, you know, man, we got some really, really good werewolf transformations movies, in the '80s. And now, and I think that's another thing too, is I miss it. I miss, that kind of craftsmanship going into it, that kind of, magic trickery, I mean, nowadays it's all CGI. There's no wondering about it. There's no, you're not even curious anymore because you already know how it's done. There's no wonder to it. There's no element of surprise or anything like that. You're just like, okay, some visual effects artist sat at a computer and just digitally created it. There you go. So, but I would say, yeah, if you're a fan of like, the werewolf movies from the '80s with the practical effects and stuff like that, and if you do like the idea of a bit of a twisted kind of dark turn on Little Red Riding Hood, I would say, yeah, give Company of Wolves a chance. So that's it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, please go and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Friday reviewer. And that's it, boils and ghouls. Everybody take care. Have a good night. I'll see you all later.